Wow. The last Warp Tour. Can't imagine the lineup. Maybe NoFX will come back. Ooh, or Day to Remember. I wonder if Blink 182 will be willing to come back. Nah, that sounds a little far fetched. This lineup announcement can't come soon enough. This lineup is interesting. As I mentioned last week in my previous video, Warp Tour is coming to an end. And the final Warp Tour is kicking off tomorrow, actually. It's kind of weird because you have this platform that's given artists such as Sublime, No Doubt, Pennywise, NoFX, Less Than Jake, Blink-182, The Offspring, Rancid, Sum 41, Simple Plan, MXPX, The Starting Line, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, Avenged Sevenfold, Asking Alexandria, A Day to Remember, The Black Eyed Peas, Eminem, Katy Perry. You get my point. The fact of the matter is that a lot of big names have gotten their start on this tour. So it's really sad to see that it's finally happening. Kevin Lyman, the tour's creator, has stated that the decline of bands willing to participate, as well as declining ticket sales, have led to this tour coming to an end. And I'd like to get into the declining participation of bands in a bit, but right now, let's just talk about declining ticket sales. Look, I'm just going to make this brief. Rock's not as big as it was anymore. I mean, look at the declining sales of guitars. Kids aren't wanting to start a band and do that type of stuff anymore. Lots of kids are wanting to start a SoundCloud and start rapping and producing and things like that. So that could be a major factor in the declining ticket sales as people look for other things to inspiration other than alternative music acts. There was actually drama earlier this year when Warped Tour's official Instagram replied to a user asking why bigger bands wouldn't come, or something along those lines. To which they replied,
if you have some of the biggest bands that got their start on Warped, going as far to name drop bands like Paramore, A Day to Remember, Avenged Sevenfold, Bring Me the Horizon, All Time Low, and Blink-182, refuse to come back and play or actively go out and tour against us, All Time Low and Water Parks last summer, you can't build the scene up and get fans to come.
Honestly, I don't know how I feel about this statement. On one hand, I want bands to keep going on Warped Tour, and I want them to keep the scene alive. But on the other hand, you can't really blame them for blowing up and wanting to move on with their careers. Why would a band want to go on tour with 90-degree weather, less than stellar pay, when they can go out on their own tour and make more money that way and sell out their own venues and not have to play parking lots? You know, I think the idea of lesser pay was touched on somewhere. I just can't remember where.
And judging by the lineup this year, it was pretty obvious that bands weren't willing to participate. I mean, nothing against Bowling for Soup. I'd love to talk about them in a future video, but they have no business playing main stage. Maybe I expected a little more. Maybe I was hoping there would be a little bit more bands who played during the emo boom of the 2000s, or bands from back in the tour's early years. It really just feels like another year. And in my hometown, a lot of bands aren't even playing my date. No Beartooth, no Asking Alexandria, no Stick to Your Guns, Sleep on It. I would go, but I'll be out of town when Warped hits my city.
Maybe I just set my hopes too high. I mean, it has been the same bands playing for the past few years I've gone. And maybe I just can't justify paying $40 to go out in this 90-plus degree Texas weather where I can see the steam rising from the audience. And to be quite frank, if I'm dying, I can't imagine how the bands who do this on a regular basis feel. And for what pay? I can imagine the bigger bands making money. But the smaller acts, what else are they paid for other than in publicity once they deduct the cost of actually going on tour out of their pay? And with the declining ticket sales, it's probably getting hard to pay a lot of bigger acts to play the entire tour. Hence why bigger bands such as Asking Alexandria and, as much as I hate to call them a big band, Black Veil Brides are only playing very limited dates this year. Like I said, I wish Warped Tour wouldn't have to end. I've found so much new music. I've met so many great people, so many great bands. I got paid $1 to watch some weird propaganda video. While it is sad that something that's become so ingrained in the culture is ending, I like to end things on a positive note. And I've compiled a really short list of 3 things 3 silver linings that come out of Warped Tour ending.
The man himself has been on the road since before working Warped Tour. He's been on the road every summer since 1991. Maybe he just needed a break. If you do the math, there are 57 bands playing my date. So divide that by 40, you're paying roughly $1.43 per band. That's a deal. But narrow it down to the bands you want to see. Say you want to see 7. That's roughly $5.70 per band, assuming you get to see them all. I'd rather pay $15 to $20 to see a band on their own tour that I actually want to see, and chances are the supporting acts I'm going to be into as well. And speaking of summer tours, I might be stretching it a bit, but my city had 3 major venues when I first started going to shows: the Korova, the 1011, and the White Rabbit. As time went on, the White Rabbit became the Paper Tiger, and for some reason stopped hosting much punk shows. Which is sad because it's a great venue. The 1011 became the Ventura, and mostly local acts play there now, which is cool, but it's a step down from hosting early shows from Turnover, The Story So Far, and Neck Deep, to name a few. And the Korova shut down randomly one day. That's it. Bankruptcy, apparently. So hopefully local venues will make some more money now that acts might be willing to tour this summer instead of going on Warped.
Now that I think about it, Warped Tour was really one of the last places where the lavish lifestyle of being a rock star didn't apply. And that was really cool. I really guess you could say that on Warped Tour, there really wasn't any room for rock stars. Well, that's pretty much it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you stayed this long, you're the best. This has been For the Record.
Where have I heard this before?